Welcome to Hardheaded Podcast. What does a mediocre outdoorsman,
3-shooting Cajun,
and an actual outdoorsman
have to say about what's going on in the world? Join us and find out.
in 3, 2,
kick it!
Welcome to Hardheaded Podcast. I'm Chet Sears, your host. As with me always, Troy Trussell, Matt Amos. We got a great show for you today, episode number 173. Matt is going to give us a good word at the end. Troy is going to tell us what's on his mind. And in the middle of that, we're going to talk about the top 3 skills you would bring to the apocalypse. When the hits the fan, what skills do you have to help your family, your friends, your neighborhood?
SHTF.
The
right?
SHTF moment. What skill,
and that
not
stands
what
for
possessions.
Stuff hits the fan.
Stuff hits the fan, just to clarify out there.
Right. Chet is potty mouth.
We don't even
here.
want you thinking bad words.
Okay. Troy, what's on your mind?
So I listened to a podcast the other day, another podcast other than ours. I know, it's crazy.
Heartbreaker.
And I had heard this story before, but it's I just realized that the NCAA has lost its mind in recent years. So have y'all heard of Riley Gaines?
Yes, the swimmer from the University of Kentucky.
Yeah.
Oh, did you catch her on Rogan?
I did.
Yeah.
Did you listen to that episode?
Some of it, clips.
Yeah, it was pretty good. So if you don't know who she is, she was a swimmer, is a very good swimmer, was a swimmer at the University of Kentucky. And in 2019, they found out that the University of Pennsylvania's swim team informed all of its female athletes that Leah Thomas, a man formerly known as William Thomas, would be competing alongside them. And then if you fast forward to 2022, he competed in a race. Sorry, she. I just can't call him a she because he's not a she.
Twig and berries.
Yeah. So he competed against a race in 2022 against Riley Gaines, where at the end of the race, they had to stand on the podium together.
Yeah. They tied. So,
well, I'll get there.
Okay.
They had to stand on the podium together, and the trophy was given to him and not her
Because they tied.
So in the race, so he had won the 500 freestyle,
Different race.
race outright, and then he swam the 200 freestyle final at the NCAA Women's Championship, and Riley and Leah, they both, like you said, they tied. They hit the block at the exact same time in 5th place. Mm-hmm. So there were 4 other swimmers ahead of them. So already that tells you how terrible he is.
He's pretty fast in the women's competition.
Oh, he's really fast in the women's.
Yeah.
Because he won first on a lot of other races. But so anyway, when she was confronted with sorry, we only have one trophy and we have to give it to him, she just came out and said, why are you giving it to the man?
Right.
Basically. And she said that the look that came over the guy's face that's handing out the trophies, it really just hit him right there, like what he was actually
He didn't know how to
doing.
answer that. Yeah.
But she said I really think that it hit him. The truth of what he was doing really hit him. But he said, we've been told by the higher ups, basically, I've got to give this to him.
Yeah.
And so, and since that's happened, so this guy, William Thomas, he is the first openly transgender athlete to win an NCAA Division I national championship, having won that 500-yard freestyle event in 2022. And he has been a part of the public debate about transgender women in women's sports because he's not a woman. Yeah, and this has been on my mind. It's just, I don't know how to handle it.
Well, we're going to see in the courts because there are some of the NCAA athletes, the women athletes that have sued the NCAA because that's a Title IX civil rights violation. So are you familiar with Title IX?
No.
So that women have to be equally represented in sports. So the NCAA, if you're a university that is under the domain of the NCAA, you have to have one women's sport for every male sport that you have. So there's equal representation. So you may have a football team for men and a women's volleyball team, and then softball, baseball offset. There's some basketball offsets there, but you basically have to have the quantity of team sport representation has to be equal of men to women. And it's to protect women's rights because women's sports don't make money. Most men's sports don't make money. I just read an article on that. Like the LSU women's basketball team loses $2 million a year.
Really?
Yeah, they just don't make money. They won the national championship last year.
Because nobody goes to the game?
Well, it's just expensive. So the conferences are so big now that you're flying all over the place instead of driving down the road.
Right.
So the expenses of all this stuff, and then you get into NIL and you're paying for this and getting that, and they just lose money. They do not make money. And basically, so football and some basketball programs make the money to support all athletics because the rest of them don't. They lose. They just lose money. So anyway, Title IX says it's a civil right for women to be represented in sports at public universities. And now the NCAA is letting men, biological males, compete in women's sports. In theory, when you look at physiology, if you are going to have, is it transgender men or transgender women?
So I'm confused on that too. I don't know. Whatever.
If you have a dude that's now not a dude, if you had a bunch of them in a running sport, let's just say, and the top 10 people make the cross country squad, and you had 10 males and they ran in the women's league and they beat all the women, you will not have women on the women's cross country team in violation of Title IX. Like you're letting. So the NCAA, it's going to be really interesting how this plays out. It's a civil rights issue that you're not allowing.
Are we going to go by feelings or are we going to go by facts? And that's general. That's what this all comes down to.
Yeah, and there's pretty decent argument that you need to go by facts.
You would think.
Yeah. And Riley's pretty outspoken about it and has been pushed to the front lines of this just because of that race.
And then let's not even talk about competition. Locker rooms.
Oh yeah. Well, she goes into the whole thing about her dad wasn't at the race because it was farther out of town or something for him to not be there, but he usually is at the races. But she was kind of glad that he wasn't at that race because he's the kind of dad that would have walked up in that bathroom and took care of business.
Yeah.
And but she called him because she said the first time, when you're in there and you're undressing and you're putting your swimsuit on, you're around a bunch of other women, we're just all doing our own thing and getting dressed. But when you hear the voice of a man, 3 feet behind you,
yeah,
immediately women start covering themselves.
Right. Yeah. It's no longer a safe space.
Yeah. It's not a safe space anymore. And so that happened in the locker room at that meet. And so when it happened, she said she called her dad and was like, Dad, there's a man in the bathroom.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to compete against this guy. And he was like, what?
Yeah.
Do I need to come down there?
Right.
And she tells a story really good about, I told my dad, I can handle this. Don't worry about it. We got this. And so it was that day she decided this is not right.
Facts are facts.
Yeah, this is not right. I'm going to stand up and I'm going to fight against this.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I just wanted to bring that to light because it's getting out of hand. It's just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm starting to see there seems to be more people speaking out against it for a number of different reasons. Safety. You could have a different moral compass than what we have and still look at this and say, that's not right. Like it's not fair. It's not safe. You look at, they had some mixed martial arts. They had a guy that transitioned.
Oh, and just beat the tar out of a bunch of
breaking
women,
faces.
Yeah.
Like it's not. Yeah, I beating on a woman. Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, that's not right.
It's getting crazy out there. And then the fact that there's the competition side, and then there's the I'm gonna disrobe. It's pretty funny. There's a video out there of a woman complaining she's at a spa, and there was a dude that went into the women's changing room, and a lady came out and started complaining. It goes viral. They start recording, and she's like, "This is not," and then the lady's like, "Well, no, we have to be accepting," and she's like, "I don't have to be accepting for this," just escalating. And to the point where she's like, he got erect, okay? In our locker room. It's like, there are people cracking up in the room because she's like, in a funny, livid way, but she is not having it. And that's like, how do you distinguish between somebody that has a true mental condition that may think they are something they're not, which up until the most recent years have been called gender dysphoria.
Right.
And a pervert. Like, how do you tell the difference between the two just in a locker room?
Yeah, you can't.
Right.
Yeah. And so then that just leads to what they're calling now pedophiles, or they're calling them MAPs now.
Nope.
Minor attractive
You
person.
will not hear me.
Oh, you will never hear me say MAPs unless I'm defining it. I mean, that's just that's disgusting. I can't even think about that. But so the other thing that I had to do
I know we talked about like the Catholic Church having executioners. Like, maybe we need to bring those back. I don't know. It's good. Hey, the Catholic Church can do some good here.
They maybe
bring the executioner back, and let's just
Bugatti.
Yeah, Bugatti. What? How many did he have?
500 and some odd.
7 a year over his 68.
Let's do it.
7 a year. That doesn't sound. That's not a big number.
7 maps a year. Let's just get them out.
That's a rookie number.
Gotta bump those numbers up, Bugatti.
Oh man. So I did some research because all of when you change genders, or even talking about transgender and all that, the words get really confusing.
Yeah.
So like, he is apparently a transgender woman.
Okay.
So when you go from, you think you're a man and you think you're a woman, you're a transgender woman.
Okay. So a transgender man would be a female plumbing, male character.
Thinking they're posing as a male. Yeah.
Is that happening?
Yes.
On that direction? I don't know.
I don't know if it is in sports. I can't remember. I think they talked about it a little bit with Riley on that Joe Rogan podcast.
Yeah, I don't. This is all confusing,
I can't remember.
and I don't spend a whole lot of time.
But the other term that I read in an article that I'd never heard was cisgender. Have you ever heard that term?
Yes, that's what you are.
Yes, I know.
Yeah,
but they have to.
You too, Matt. And me.
Sounds so bad.
But I had to look it up because they're talking about.
There's a whole South Park episode
AKA
on it,
normal.
But when you're talking about a transgender, you have to differentiate the normal people by saying they're cisgender females. Because listen to this sentence: the transgender swimmer. So Leah Thomas, the transgender swimmer who was the center of attention at the meet because she was allowed to compete against cisgender females under NCAA rules. I literally had to go look up what cisgender was.
Yeah.
which is a term that is used to describe people whose gender identity matches the sex they were assigned at birth. Like, why is this? For example, someone who is assigned female at birth, and it's even AFAB. What is that? Anagram or
Acronym?
Acronym. They even
assigned female at AFAB. AFAB?
AFAB. You're AFAB if you're assigned female at birth.
Wasn't there a
and identifies as a woman is a cisgender woman. On the other hand, an AFAB person who identifies as a man is a transgender man.
Wasn't there a song?
And then there's non-binary. Have you heard of these people?
They don't even know.
Ray Stevens. Ahab the Arab. You remember that song? AFAB.
I remember Ray Stevens.
Okay.
But non-binary.
Now, look, language, I'm telling you, when people start changing terminology, there's social change coming. There's a reason they don't want to call it what they want. There's a reason they want to call it MAP instead of pedophile.
Well, yeah. They said...
And you're not assigned a gender at birth. You are a gender at birth.
Right.
Yeah.
So non-binary is relating to a gender identity that does not conform to traditional binary beliefs about gender, which indicate that all individuals are exclusively either male or female. It's jacked up.
It's we're reaching new levels of
and one
insanity.
Interesting statistic that I heard is that when you start changing the words that you use to mean something else, collapse is coming.
Yeah.
To nation collapse. That's what happens when there's a big shift.
Well, societal collapse, right?
Right.
The country's going along with it, like the powers that be.
Yeah. So
it'll be interesting. I'll be following the court case whenever it gets going.
It's just we've reached a new low, people.
Well, you mentioned confusing, and I was trying to find the actual verse for it, but Satan is like the author of confusion.
Oh yeah,
right. So if you think when they were on the boat in the middle of the sea and it was stormy, and so you think storms and you think confusion and you think fear and you don't know what's going on and everybody's just kind of floating out in the middle of the sea, and then God stands up and goes, "Peace, be still," and then calm. Right. So to me, that's kind of the picture analogy of what you're saying.
I like it.
I should have probably just saved that for the good word. But
yeah, that's good. Yeah, so Riley Gaines, if you're listening, you want to help her support her cause, she does have a website you can go donate to and help out the cause. So, but yeah, that's what's been on my mind.
That's amazing. Thank you, Troy.
Yes, sir.
Scary. We're going to take a break. When we come back, top 3 skills you bring to the apocalypse.
At Admiral's Pennant, our mission is to offer the latest and refined, high-quality masculine products and services to the modern gentleman, as well as provide him with the tools and products necessary to look, act, and feel confident in his appearance and social interactions. Check it out at admiralspennant.com. Without it, you might as well shave.
Shoot, I got skills. And we're back. Hosting skills, that is. Top 3 skills you bring to the apocalypse. Matt, how about you lead us off here?
I will lead us off. Number 3. Dang near what I already just said, like just before the break. I bring calm. I don't freak out in situations that normal people freak out in. I'm wired differently.
Yeah.
I freak out when everybody's calm because I don't know. That's when I'm more tense, is when everybody's just kind of nothing going on. And then when everybody starts getting riled up, all right, hey, let's systematically, let's figure out what we got to do. So I bring a sense of calm.
Okay.
Number 2, I am EMT and combat lifesaver trained. So I do have some medical background that I can at least get you to stay alive for a bit. You will need to see some professional help, but for the most part, anything.
I'll be honest with you, that's a lot better than calm. Because if I'm in that, if it all went down,
right,
I may need EMT skills, but I'm not going to be begging for, wish somebody was here that was calm.
You will.
No.
Because when you're on the ground, you're bleeding out. You don't want somebody freaking out. You want somebody calm. Because if I come up to you, so that they're together, this is what I bring as a package. 3, 2, 1.
Okay. All right,
I bring calm. If there's a medical emergency, guess what?
3, 2, 1, kick it.
Hey, guess what? Hey, you're going to be fine. Man, that leg, it's pretty jacked up. Not going to lie. We're going to get it on there. Because when I had even when I was injured and I had corpsmen working on me, that calm, they knew what they were doing. They were working fast, and they weren't messing around, but it was like, hey, we're going to get this, we're going to get this, we're going to do this, here's what we're going to do. And that calm reassurance was key. And then
give me the 3, 2, 1 package. What's number 1?
Number 1 is I take up less space. But I bring a set of knowledge and skills that your kids will not. So lose the kids, bring me.
Hey, and hope that you charge your leg.
But I'm just saying,
before the power goes out.
If you have a doomsday, like I said, it goes into free swing. It's mechanical. It's fine at that point. I don't need it. I have to just wait for it to completely die. That said, if you have a doomsday bunker, I'd take up less space. I'm just saying, and I have EMT training, and I'm calm. We won't even bring the firearm skills into it, but I am pretty good with those. All right. Because hopefully you wouldn't have to need those, right?
Okay. That's not a bad list, Matt.
I know it's not. I'm awesome in the apocalypse.
Number 3, food gathering. Whether that's live animals or fish or berries.
Berries. Nuts.
I'm your man. Number 2, shelter building. I can lash, swing an axe, put a saw to use, and build a pretty robust, windproof, waterproof shelter without anything but a string. Number 1, I'm probably the best fire starter you know. I could bring a fire out of damp, wet wood and save your life. And do it calmly, by the way.
Would it?
Huh?
I imagine you'd be pretty calm because you're a pretty even keeled person. I haven't seen you get too excited, like over the top.
No, I can. You don't want to be around when
I know you can, but I just, you haven't.
Yeah.
For the most part,
I know how to make you not calm.
Yeah. But that's also that killer instinct that you're going to want.
Nice.
All right, Troy, what you got?
Shut up.
Similar to yours.
There's no
Chet.
one. There is. Okay. Chet. All right. Gathering berries. I know it's gathering berries.
No,
I know it is.
I put fishing. I could catch some fish. Number 2, fire making.
Really?
Yeah, I know how to
He's
make
better.
a fire.
He says he's better than you.
One match fires?
I don't know. I don't need one match. Probably not going to have a match in the apocalypse. I just make a fire.
Okay. Stare it down. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
If Tom Hanks could do it, I can do it.
I'm pretty sure if we had a competition.
I'm not saying.
That's your number 2.
I'm happy to compete against you.
Yeah.
But I'm not. Who knows?
You better come up with something different, or else we don't need each other.
Well, maybe we don't. Archery is my number 1.
I do not have that.
What? Troy.
I'll take you on any time, Matt.
He has a bow. That's This is too funny.
Did the deer die?
That's the deer.
The deer died.
No, it didn't, Troy. You had to go retrieve arrows because you only brought
One.
Two.
You brought two.
I can't remember.
You brought two arrows. You missed with the first, or you hit with the first one, missed with the second to the point you had to go retrieve it. and then back up 15 yards, shoot it again, and somehow you managed to gut shot it at 10 yards as it's paralyzed laying on the ground. Archery skills are not your number one, Troy. They're not even in the top 5.
They're there for in the apocalypse.
You think you're just gonna?
He will be so focused.
I'll have
He will
so
will
much
that arrow
time.
to the heart.
I'll have so
Listen.
much time to practice and even get
No,
better.
you won't, because those arrows are going to be gone. You've only brought 2. And then you're going to ask somebody, hey, man, do you got some arrows? Will those work in my bow? No, Troy. That's not the way arrows work. There's different grains and different lengths. I mean, goodness gracious.
Number 1, archery.
Oh, terrible number 1.
That may be his number one skill.
That being terrible?
I'm just saying. Go. All right. Well, you got a good word after all that. After you just rebuked our co-host here.
I did, and I feel like Troy is my child. And that's going to come in here at Ephesians 6:4. Fathers, do not provoke your children to anger, but bring them up in discipline and instruction in the Lord. And I think this whole issue with gender identity and a lot of the issues that we're currently having is because there is a lack of dads there to define some of those roles, and good mothers and godly relationships between those parents to identify whose role is what, why they have those roles, and how those roles were established. And I mean, the further away, if anybody's noticed, I mean, we look back and everybody's like, man, it was so, back in the day, it was so great. It was so great back in the day, the 50s and 60s. Oh, they were, that was really a good time, and then you got all the civil rights people that come out and say, well, no, it wasn't, and I get that, but the relationship, if you take that out of it, the government, let's take the government out of it. And we go back to the family back then. Even didn't matter if you were a black or white family, you had
A core family.
you had a
stay
core,
together.
You had a core family unit that attacked things together as a family, and you don't have that now. It's like every person for themselves, and and there traditionally has not been recently good roles that identify what a man should be, or what a woman should be. And I think we've kind of lost that. And I've been thinking about that a lot recently, actually. So, because I for one, I sure as heck don't know. I wasn't told, hey, here's what it means, And so, just kind of been working at that recently. And so that's kind of what brought that to mind when you're talking about people that are confused and they think they're one way and they're not, it's just like, well, because nobody sat them down and said, no, sorry, that's not right. It's just been, oh yeah, no, that's fine. You are who you are, and that's okay. And that's not the case. I mean, people have twisted that. And again, that's the devil is the author of confusion, so people have twisted that meaning, like it's okay to be you. Yes, it's okay to be you, but it's not okay to pretend that you're somebody else or something that you're not. And again, just defining those roles. So that's my good word anyway. Just don't provoke your children to anger,
but bring them up to fear the Lord.
Bring them up,
yeah,
to fear the Lord. So there you go.
Thank you, Matt. Very good word. Thank you, Troy, for what's on your mind.
Unless that child is Troy talking about archery is number 1 in the apocalypse, and then you destroy that kid.
We'll talk to you next week. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for listening to the Hardheaded Podcast. Don't forget to share this podcast with others to help us get the word out.
Also, if you haven't yet, please rate and review the show. This helps our podcast show up in other people's suggested shows that may or may not have listened to us before.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.